Hello. I unfortunately will not be with you again today, fourth period. We have our first softball game at Irwin, so I will be leaving you. But I'm going to give you a good homework check right here. We did not talk about mid-segment yesterday. If you'll remember, we ran out of time. So I'm going to try to give you a brief overview of mid-segment so you can practice one problem. You will have a quiz in the second half of the period to get you ready for your test tomorrow. If you look over at the homework board, chapter 5 and 6 test coming up tomorrow. The quiz will be a great review for you for that test. Okay, we are going to start with SGI book. Why don't you take a second, pause the video, get out your SGI book. 6-4 was from Monday night's homework. Remember, we did not check that. Get out your worksheets that we worked on yesterday. 6-5 worksheets with the word problems on there. And get out your page 319 in your textbook. Okay, so go ahead and get all that on your desk. All right, on SGI 6-4, on the front side, I picked out number 6 to do with you. If you get this idea, then all the rest of them are a similar type of problem. Okay, parallel lines, when you see those, and one parallel line is inside a triangle, parallel lines are going to cut proportional parts. Okay, parallel lines are going to cut proportional parts. What does that mean? Look at these parallel lines. What kind of parts are they creating? It's creating this little piece here, x, this little piece 10. That's going to be your first ratio setup. X is going to correspond with the other side 10. Okay, it's going to be proportional, so we're going to set that equal to your other two parts that cut. Now, remember, we need to go systematically here. If we move from the left down to the right, we got to come back and go from the left to the right on our other parts that are cut. Okay, so x corresponds with 10, and then x plus 10 corresponds with 30. Here is your setup. Parallel lines cut proportional parts, which means make a proportion. Okay, now let's solve it. Cross multiply. X times 30 is 30x. Cross multiply the other way, and remember on these, distribute to everything. 10 gets multiplied by all of this, so 10x, and then 10 times 10 is a 100. Okay, so don't make that mistake there. Can we solve this for x? Sure can. Subtract 10x from both sides. 30x minus 10x is 20x. 100 is what you got left on the right side. Now we are ready to divide by 20. And your x value, 100 divided by 20, will give you 5. Okay. Now, I want you to look at this. Sometimes you can make a relationship with the numbers in here. What do you know is true about this piece 10 and this piece 30? How do these numbers relate? This piece here is 3 times as big as this piece here. Okay, so when we plug in for x, that should be true on the other side. This piece up here should be, this longer piece should be 3 times as big as our shorter piece. So plug it in. This is just x. So this piece right here is 5. This piece right here, it's going to be 5 plus 10. That gives you 15. Look at your numbers. 15, is that 3 times as big as 5? Yes, it is. So therefore, is it proportional? Did it work out like it should? 10 and 30, 3 times as big. 5 and 15, 15 is 3 times as big. That's what it means to work proportionally, that we've got the same kind of ratio when we look at our different sides. All right, we are going to move to your worksheet. On that worksheet, on the back side was where you had those problems. I'm going to choose number 6 on the back side here. Okay, remember this one? Number 6, this should be done on your little grid that I gave you. All right, we got 2 triangles, JKL, RST. And it says these are similar. The lengths of the sides, JKL, are 170, 230, and 205. Now, it does not matter where you put those numbers. You should have done this last night for homework. Check your paper. You don't have to have these numbers exactly in the same spots. But read what else it gives us. Perimeter of RST, 726. What is the length of the longest side of RST? This part does matter. We want to find the longest side of RST. Here's a rule of thumb. Anything you want to find, that's what you put your variable for. Okay? So longest side of RST, let's put an X on the piece we want to find. It's very important that we correspond the side over here that we put X on with the longest side on the smaller triangle. Okay, so corresponding sides here, 230 is my longest side over on the left. So I have to place the longest side measure, that's the thing we want to find. I've got to place my X so it matches up with the longest side over here. Okay, so this side has got to represent my longest side because 230 is the longest over on the left. Okay, so now, what can I do here? I've got perimeter, and then they didn't tell me perimeter over here. I want to find X, 230. Now, I can go ahead and see this. Watch this. Don't you see that 230 is going to correspond with X? If you have your X on there in the right place. What can we set it equal to? Yesterday we learned one of the cool little things that are proportional to each other is perimeters. Now, let's just use our clues that we have. They didn't give you perimeter on the small one, but you can find it. Okay, so can you add together 170, 230, 205, and find the perimeter? Let me do it real quick right here. I don't have a calculator. So I'm going to add these two together, and then I'll add the 170 on there. 605. I hope this is right. So, you can check me and tell me tomorrow if I got it wrong. So we're going to correspond 230 with X. And now I'm going to come back over and we're going to use the perimeters as our ratio here because perimeters are always proportional. I just found when I added together all the sides that 605 is the perimeter on the left side and it does correspond with 726. Okay, check one thing before you solve it. Did we go in the correct order systematically? I went 230 and X. I do have to come back to the left side when I do my perimeters. And 605 on top, 726 on top. Always check that. Make sure you go in the correct order. Okay? This is your setup. I feel certain that all of you could solve it for X once you get here. Okay? Remember, check this. Tell me tomorrow if I messed it up. All right. Let's go to textbook. Now what I'm doing is I'm just picking a few problems that I assume maybe some of you had questions on, since I'm not here to really ask you which ones you had questions on. If there are other ones that you know for sure that you do have questions on, I bet Mr. Science will be really nice and answer your questions on any other ones. Okay? But if you get the hang of these that we're going over, the ones that you may have missed, you might answer your own questions as we go through these. Okay. Let's look at number 15, and this is actually on page 320, so you should have that in front of you. Number 15 looks like this. Excellent question here because they put a triangle inside of a triangle. Don't be surprised if they do this to you. And don't freak out. You guys know how to handle things. We're just going to take what they give us. All right. Here's our picture. I also know that C down here is a right angle. And I also know that D right here is a right angle. Okay, so here we go. They tell us some very key information. First of all, I want to find the perimeter of the given triangle. And the one that gives me, if you will read very closely right beside number 15, perimeter of triangle ABC, it doesn't say perimeter, it just says triangle ABC. Okay, that's the one, that's the indicated thing you want to find the perimeter of. Okay, now it tells you that ABC, that triangle, which is the whole thing, is similar to triangle CBD. So if you are looking in your textbook, you can see where I'm reading right now. This is an interesting setup because they give us the whole thing ABC. I'm going to redraw it here. Here's A, here's B, here's C. This is the big picture. And they're saying that that is similar to this triangle DCB. Okay? Separate them out. It will help you to see it separately. All right, here we go. AD is 5. Got that on there. Now, AD disappeared when I separated it out. So I'm just going to have it here in my original picture. I'm just going to wait and hold on to that piece of information for a second. CD is 12. Okay, so that's here on my small triangle. BC is 31.2. And if you'll notice, BC is used on both of these triangles. Okay, so you can write it in there. There's no other information I need to add. I do need to just kind of keep in my mind that 5 is right there. We might need to use that in just a second. Okay. So what are we going to do here? We're going to set up a proportion. We have similar triangles. Okay. I want you to look at this. Look at the left side and look at the right side. Do you see 31.2 is used in both of them? But let me say this to you. These are not corresponding sides. They're not in the same location on this left-right triangle as this right-right triangle. Okay? So, look at it again. And I want you to see, can we come up with something that's going to be corresponding between this triangle and this triangle? Okay? I want to ask you, what's going to correspond with AB on this triangle? This is a little bit easier to kind of notice here. Notice that AB is across from this 90 degrees. What's across from your 90 degrees over here? 31.2. These, this question mark and this 31.2, those are corresponding. That's in the same position. What do we want in the end? We want the perimeter of this one. So we do need to find all sides here. Okay? Now, you may be stuck at this point. You don't know what's going to help you. You need to use your knowledge of everything you know about triangles, everything you know about geometry. Look closely at this small triangle. There is a way that I can find this side DB. Okay? If you get stuck on one of these, you don't know where to go, just do what you can. How can you find this side right here highlighted in blue? You got a right triangle. You got two sides. Can you do Pythagorean theorem to find it? Okay? Now, I'm running out of time on my video. I have to stop it in just a minute. So I'm going to just kind of talk you through these steps, and after my video stops, you can take a minute and finish this problem out if you did not get it for your homework last night. Okay? So use Pythagorean theorem. Let me help you set it up. A squared, we can treat this as a squared. Here's the Pythagorean theorem. I can solve for one of my legs if I substitute in my other leg squared and set it equal to my hypotenuse squared. Okay? Solve this down and find this measure here. Then go back and see if you can use a proportion. Okay, so see what corresponds over here with what piece over here. And see if we can get that ratio stuff going on. You need to find AB. You need to find AC. And in the end, what are we looking for? The perimeter of triangle ABC. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that. Start here. Take about 2 minutes to finish this problem up. Now, when Mr. Sides gives you work time, you need to be working. You are going to turn this homework in, and there's no excuse for anybody in here to not have this problem. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that. Please collect the homework for me. Do it quickly, and we have a couple more things to talk about before your quiz.